Welcome to the F Word, brought to you by Entertain Facts, a weekly podcast where we discuss the hot topics of the week in the world of movies, TV, video games, WWE, and more. I'm your host, G. With me on the panel is Nick, and the founder and CEO of Entertain Facts, Anthony. Before we get started with our first show, we want to spotlight the man behind Entertain Facts, an Instagram account which has grown to just over 34,000 followers. And with this, we want to ask him a question from our fans. Anthony, what inspired you to start your page?
Okay, so I've been doing a little backstory before I kind of started Entertain Facts. I've been doing Instagram for about 4 years, all different accounts. I didn't start Entertain Facts till October 10th, 2015. But I've been doing Instagram for about 4 years, so kind of doing random accounts, like I used to be into TV shows. I'd do fan accounts, meme accounts, all that. But I never really surpassed... I'd say my highest amount of followers was about 850 on that one account. So I kind of just gave them up as I grew older. Then after a while, I decided I kind of stopped it. Then October 10th, 2015, I was following a bunch of fact pages at the time. And I thought to myself, I was pretty bored. And I said I could do that. So I started an account, Video Game True Facts, which was I originally started with. That was where I just obviously posted video game facts. But after a while, I kind of grew out of video games, got more into movies with the Marvel, DC. Those were kind of the ones I was really into at the time. So I think it was April 28th, 2016, I started Entertain Facts. At the time, I think it was at about 6,000 followers. I dropped a lot, though, because with an account change, the kind of people don't want to see movies, they don't want to see TV shows. I still gained, I didn't gain, but I kept a lot of loyal followers that I still talk to today, actually. But yeah, I think the problem most people have, because I'll get a lot of DMs asking me, like, how do you start, how do you do this? People just do it for the fame, they don't really do it just for kind of the passion or the fun. When you talk about like most YouTubers, most like Instagrammers, none of them will say they started off because they wanted to get big by it. Might have been one of the reasons, but the most was just because they were a fan of what they were doing, they believed what they were doing, and they were actually interested by what they were doing. So that's kind of where I started, and from here, I guess I'm at 34.4 thousand followers now, which kind of motivates me to keep on going. Everyone has those days where you just feel like, I don't want to post, I don't want to do this, because your followers are down, or your likes are down, you're getting hate for your post, but you got to kind of go through it, be persistent, and just keep on grinding through a lot of time. And if you are consistent, which is probably the most important part, you'll get big, you've got a following, you get all the loyal followers, the people that you talk with, people that support you. And that's probably the biggest part of doing any kind of social media. So that's essentially the short story of how I started Entertain Facts.
When would you say was like your turnaround point? So you're at 34,000 now. At what point did you say, okay, things are actually really starting to kind of take off? Like, was it about a year in? Was it 6 months? And was it something in particular, or a certain like movie that came out that you started talking about, or something that really got you going up there?
That's an excellent question, Nick. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I would say it's about August of 2016. I was just on vacation, kind of just chilling a bit, posting. I was on Entertain Facts at the time. And I got a DM from, I don't know who it was some kind of business. They were asking me to do ads. And that's why I know I made it big.
Yeah.
I don't know if I did it. I think I might have, but I don't really do it at the time, because I just do it more as a hobby than an actual business. But I'd say that's when I kind of took it serious. I'm like, you know what? People see me, like businesses see me as something big. I'm like, valuable enough to put money into. I could probably take it more seriously, post more. I made a better layout, made a better logo. I didn't make the logo I'm currently using. That comes from a fan of mine, not a fan, but like a follower I talked to. He's having a page up soon. I'll talk about that more. But I guess August 2016 is where I kind of took it more seriously, and it was kind of in a moment I realized what I had.
Cool.
So because you're the CEO of this, we're gracious enough to be able to help you, and you brought us on to help you, or at least assist you with this this podcast and this process. So would you say this podcast is that next step, and then as the brand keeps growing for you?
Yeah, I've always wanted to do a podcast, and I've actually had the idea for the F word. I've been talking about this since I tried doing it. Actually, I've already tried doing the F word with a couple of my friends, but I think my mic didn't work out too well because we were all using the same kind of mic line. So I kind of just scrapped it at the time. I think that was December 2016. But I've always had the idea. I've always wanted to call it the F word. And then Gordon Ramsay came like a snake. Randy Orton RKO'd me out of nowhere, took the name.
The jacked Chris Jericho.
Oh. Yes. Well, yeah, this is probably the next big step, and hopefully we're consistent. People like it.
Well, and really, Nick and I are just fans of like the medium, because again, you're the CEO. I guess if you would say, you'd be the expert on this because you do this on a daily basis. Nick and I were just fans. So for those listening, we're not professionals by any means outside of just Anthony, myself, and Nick. We're fans of the medium coming from perspective of your average person. So the biggest crux to this is also just the fact that we're just like you as listeners, okay? When we go into a movie, it's just, we hope we like it. If we don't like it, this is what it's for. We're not, highbrow, noses in the air kind of thing. And we want to bring you the content that, the average person is going to be into, and the average fan, again, of movies, TV, what you're watching. So please remember that your comments, and your feedback is very important to us. We'll be having a Facebook page up pretty soon, Anthony.
By the next show, it should be up.
By next show. So again, it's weekly. We will release. This is all done for Saturday at around 11 o'clock is where you're going to be getting these. So make sure that by 11 o'clock you're seeing this. We're going to be having it on iTunes, and we're going to be having it on YouTube. So when the YouTube page is already up, please go to the F Word on YouTube, subscribe, and hit that little bell on there so it'll notify you whenever a show comes up when we upload it. Guys, we've got some news this week.
Let's start talking.
Let's start talking some movies.
We got the business out of the way.
Exactly.
Let's go.
So, a few things. I think the biggest news from this week, because I would imagine the majority of the fans out there is Star Wars. And the biggest controversy this week has been the Han Solo news, where because of creative differences with Disney and Star Wars and everything, they got rid of Phil Lord and Chris Miller, and those guys directed things like the Lego Movie. They also did Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2, and they've done some other stuff, like really funny guys. They did what was it, 22 Jump Street, which most comedy sequels don't work, and those guys made it work. But again, through creative differences, they got released. The other thing that we're hearing as the week has gone on is Alden Ehrenreich, who is who's playing Han Solo in the movie. He was talking about how he felt he was doing an Ace Ventura portrayal, more of like a caricature of what Han Solo might be. Which really, when you look at it, Lord and Miller, we'll just put it that way, they're comedy guys. So you'd think in the beginning, because this movie's almost pretty much wrapped, they would have talked about something like this, right? Like they would have known that they weren't jiving. Their vision for this movie wasn't the same. And then on top of that, you hear that they actually brought an acting instructor to help Alden Ehrenreich with acting, because apparently he had an issue with it. So there's a lot of really crazy stories going around. Guys, as Star Wars fans, and as just the fans of the universe that they've brought back over the the fallout from the prequels, I don't know, what do you guys think? Anthony, were you on this?
So this is kind of the same story with Rogue One, how they had their differences with their they had the reshoot and everyone was freaking out. They were like, oh, this movie's gonna be horrible, but it turned out to be a good movie because out of creative differences, I think it was because they didn't kill off any of the characters. They're kind of doing reshoots for that. For the Han Solo movie, I feel like if they need to take more time to hit a decent, I'd rather have a good movie in 2008 or 2019 instead of having a bad one in 2017. I mean, they're already halfway done with the movie, so I feel like they should just at least finish it, do something with it. They already have a talented cast. If they have Donald Glover in there, which I love, he's from Community. He's doing that Deadpool TV show, which I believe comes out next year.
Yeah, which is really cool.
But I feel like they just kind of balance it out like most of the Marvel movies with a bit of humor, but still have that Star Wars feel in it. They should be fine.
I think the whole, the original Han Solo character from the movie from the 80s, I mean, he kind of had a dark past. Like, it was, he had his one-liners, his, little quips that made him who he was. But if they were going to go with a completely different route and kind of go comedic, like you said, like the Ace Ventura style, I think they're totally going against what the actual character of Han Solo should be. I mean, Han Solo, let's face it, was a criminal. Like, he was never this jovial character that was, all fun and games. Like, he was a straight up criminal who all of a sudden found, his good side or whatever through falling in love with Princess Leia and all that stuff. But so to totally change that, I don't know. I'm hoping that it's exaggerated and that it's not going to be anywhere near that bad, because that's I'd be concerned if they did something like that with the character. But
Well, they brought Ron Howard to direct it, which Ron Howard, his latest movies haven't been that great. He did a movie with Chris Hemsworth called In the Heart of the Sea. Wasn't as well received as you'd think, like this big whale, Moby Dick style epic. But he did do Rush. Rush was really good. He's done a lot of other movies in the past. I mean, he is a talented director, but most of the reports that have been coming out has just kind of been like, he's just kind of there because he knows how to play ball. And because the movie's already gone this far, it's, you've got a tonal shift that could possibly happen, and they're still on track to release the movie at the same time. I don't know. To me personally, first of all, no one really asked too much for a Han Solo movie. Like you mentioned, he was that smuggler that he wasn't the greatest guy in the world. He dominated the Kessel Run. That was his story. Like, just leave it be. I mean, they've already talked about a Boba Fett movie. Just let the guy be a bounty hunter, and just let his story be shrouded in this mystery that the audience can just, at least for me, just take wherever. Where did he come from? Who cares?
yeah,
The thing I don't really like about all these Star Wars movies coming out is that they have this whole non-canon universe now. They had years and years of books, comic books, all these things coming out. If they always they want to play it safe. With Rogue One, that was probably the most far out thing they did, because it was just random people, basically all new characters that you would never see again. But with Han Solo, they could completely ruin the character if they do this bad.
Yeah, 100%.
that's the unfortunate thing about Disney, is that they're going to try to capitalize on every single aspect of Star Wars and try to gain as much profit as they can out of it. So what do? You talk about every single character. Like, if they have a Princess Leia backstory and prequel to Princess Leia and all that, you're just taking something and you're just picking it apart.
Mm-hmm. Well, and at the same time too, we're talking about a galaxy here.
Yeah,
like.
Not a game, a galaxy.
Not a game, a galaxy.
Not a practice.
Exactly. I mean, you can expand, because most of the time, the movies have been Skywalker related, except for Rogue One. But even then, there was still the Skywalker looming. There was your, your Darth Vader. There was your Princess Leia there, and it was still tied into the Skywalker theme. Obviously, with what was it? I'm blanking on it. Force Awakens. Let's find Luke. Let's find Skywalkers. Is Rey related to somebody or whatever? So it's. I get where you're both coming from. Like, from they're wanting to release 2 movies a year, or maybe like an anthology movie one year and an
Main
episodic movie the year after that, right? So they're gonna have to expand, right? You've got. I'm a fan of Star Wars as them being fun movies. I'm not steeped in lore. I don't know if, for you guys too, are you guys more so just like fans of it and coming from a fan perspective?
Yeah, I don't really read too much on it. I just watch.
Yeah, I by no means some of these super fans that speak the other languages in the galaxy.
Yeah.
That's a true hardcore fan. For me, I think part of why Star Wars got so much attention and so much love was the fact that you did have to wait for a movie to come out for 2 years, right? So, there was kind of that anticipation would build, and a movie would come out, and you're like, Star Wars is coming out in a year, right? And you'd get that little teaser trailer, and you're like, I can't wait for this movie to come out. But now it's every 6 months, you've diminished that. Now, people aren't as excited. They don't even have that chance to get excited about that movie, right? So that's where I'm a little disappointed. I'm not saying that they've done a bad job. I think they've done a good job with both Force Awakens, Rogue One, and I'm sure, like we said, we're not pros. That's what these guys do. But, for me, I don't want to see it get too commercialized and destroyed.
Well, and the other thing too is that Star Wars what Force Awakens did was wipe the slate clean from the prequels, because when I grew up, the prequels were my Star Wars.
Right.
I didn't have the glory days, and like you mentioned too, that anticipation, especially when you look at Empire Strikes Back to Return of the Jedi. There was about 2 years or more that people had to wait, and back then they didn't have the internet, they didn't have any news. It was just, we just found out Vader is Luke's dad, and now it's done. And
you're like, now what?
Yeah,
yeah. What do we do now?
Whereas opposed to now, we're spoiled. We've got all this news that comes in all the time, and you could be watering down a brand which it will never die because it's Star Wars.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It is on its own world. Even when you take into account DC, MCU, all that stuff, that that pales in comparison to Star Wars. And the only battle that has ever existed was Star Wars versus Star Trek. Mm-hmm. Really, when you look at it.
Yeah.
But I mean, Star Wars is
and a little Lord of the Rings.
Sure.
In terms of trilogies,
in terms of trilogies, but even
Yeah.
in terms of an overall culture, because it created such a massive culture on something that people were laughing at George Lucas for doing in the beginning.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of anticipation, though, Deadpool 2, we have some set photos. This past Monday, Ryan Reynolds released some on his social media, officially kicking off day one of shooting. Nick, are you excited?
Always. Any kind of Ryan Reynolds movie, anything with that kind of sarcasm and wit, I think, a lot of people, not just myself, a lot of people are looking forward to that movie. I think it's going to be killer. I think it's going to be a good one. Ryan Reynolds has done a great job with that character, so much better than the Green Lantern. Not to diss the Green Lantern, but I think Deadpool is a much better fit for him. I don't know. Anthony?
I don't know. For the first movie, I'm not going to say I hated it, but it's a very unpopular opinion. I thought it was really overhyped, and I didn't think, for what it was just a comedy. It was just, random stuff. It was Deadpool. But everyone was saying it was, the best movie of the year, deserved Oscars. I laughed at some points, but I felt, really overhyped. But I'm excited for Deadpool 2 with Josh Brolin being Cable. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, that was interesting. They were going back and forth with Cable for a long time. They even had, I'm blanking on the actor's name. He's going to be playing... Hellboy and the new one, David Harbour, I think his name is, from Stranger Things.
Oh yeah,
and they had him on cast. They had. I really was petitioning. I really wanted Stephen Lang. I don't know if you guys have. He's from Avatar, but
was he the guy in Don't Breathe?
Yeah. Oh, and in Don't Breathe, he was just incredible. He looks the part too, and even he wanted to get in on it. So, for you, was it overhyped before you got into the movie?
Oh.
And so you went in there expecting something high, and then you got a movie which was, by no means a waste of your money. That's not what I'm getting from you. But it just, because it was put on such a high pedestal from everybody else, did it drop down for you?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I feel Spider-Man Homecoming is going to be kind of the same thing, because I feel I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. I loved every single movie just because I'm a huge fan. But I feel this one, everyone's overhyping it. I saw the trailer. My first thought was...
Meh.
Yeah, meh.
You're talking Spider-Man, first Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel Deadpool is kind of the same thing. I heard so many good things about it. I don't really watch trailers for movies, so I kind of go in not knowing much. It's just kind of a standard comedy. It was good for Ryan Reynolds. I really liked it. I didn't regret seeing it. I've watched it 2 times after that. But it was just... didn't live up to all the hype people were saying about it.
Did it get better the other 2 times? Were you able to kind of maybe... Let's say the first time your expectations were, I don't know, out of 10. Then you maybe drop down to, is it fair to say maybe a 6?
Yeah.
When you watched it the second time, did it end up getting you a little bit closer to that 7 or 8, or was it still the same feeling?
Well, after I watched about 2 months after it released, and no one was really talking about Deadpool too much, so then it kind of settled in. No one was hyping it up. No one was saying he deserves an Oscar. I watched it and I was I understand how people thought this was really great.
Yeah. Nick, when you walked into it, again, same kind of deal, were your expectations way up there? I know, when it was coming up, I was hyping it up a lot.
You were more excited about it than I was, but I think with me, I had high expectations just because I like Ryan Reynolds as an actor. Yeah. Well, just generally, his one-liners, his demeanor is just okay, and this was a good fit for him. I think a lot of what happened with Deadpool, and I don't know if I'm right on this, Anthony, but I think because Deadpool wasn't as well-known of a character. You go in with Spider-Man, you grew up on watching it, you have more of a connection. Whereas for Deadpool, I don't think really had a connection with a lot of fans. So, and maybe for you, and maybe that's why you never got that into the movie as well. For me, I knew nothing about Deadpool. For me, all I knew was and that's where I'm kind of going on this is I had more of a connection to the actor, thinking I like Ryan Reynolds' work. Mm-hmm. I like his just demeanor. He's a cool dude. So I think that was more so what made me like the movie more. So if you're not a fan or if you don't know much about Deadpool and you hear all this hype on top of the fact that you don't know much or have a bond or connection to the character, I could see why you'd come out of it going meh. Right? And maybe, I don't know if I'm wrong on that. Is that kind of...
Yeah, I'm not really a hardcore comic fan. And I remember this one conversation I had with my father. I was asking him, okay, I'm going to go see Deadpool now. And he thought it was a remake, because apparently it's a really old movie with the same title, Deadpool.
Oh.
I don't know what it is exactly.
I'll look it up.
Yeah.
But I remember he was like really confused by it, and I came back. I like kind of explained to him what it was, and I remember he watched it and he loved it. Like he found it really funny because it is funny with all the random humor kind of just thrown in there.
Because he is your dad, like it's the same humor.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, for me, I am a big fan of Ryan Reynolds too, but I knew the character of Deadpool.
Yeah.
And the reason I love Deadpool, just going into it, was two things. I'm a huge fan. For those of you watching, if you harp on this, we're gonna have some issues. I'm a huge fan of The Mask. Okay, I don't know if you guys seen The Mask.
It's a great movie. Great movie.
And that was one of the first movies where pop culture references, breaking the fourth wall, all that stuff. For me, when I first watched it, it reminded me of the first time when I sat down and I watched The Mask, and it was awesome. And I watched Deadpool, and the biggest thing for me was that the marketing for it, not just the trailers themselves, but the marketing for it, was just as much a part of the movie for me as the actual movie was, because it was as meta as you can get, right? A meta character who understands it's a comic book, and then Ryan Reynolds in the costume doing all that extra stuff that he was doing, photographs, interviews, this and this and that. Mm-hmm. The thing he did in Halloween with those kids dressed as the X-Men was amazing, right?
Yeah.
All that culminated to this movie that, when I first saw it, again, I was at a 10. Maybe after, I'm still at that 10, but it's more of just I can watch this over and over and over. I mean, when you look back, even the creator of Deadpool had said that Deadpool is a cross between a Shar-Pei and Ryan Reynolds. So, and the fact that ever since that leak that happened beforehand that even caused this, which was like everyone said, or it was confirmed that Ryan Reynolds himself set out that leak. Yeah. It was that CGI test footage, and it was incredible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that movie was pretty. For me, it was pretty awesome. I'm super excited for Deadpool 2. I hope they don't overdo it.
Yeah.
Because they do have a bigger budget, and that movie was done on a
smaller
budget, and they were able to actually just focus on the core of the character, because obviously Ryan Reynolds knows his character. He adores this character. Yeah. So yeah, I'm super excited about it. Josh Brolin as Cable. We'll see how he does. I mean, he's Thanos in the MCU.
There better be a reference to Thanos in Deadpool 2.
I see, and that was the one thing. I think he's definitely going to do something like that. So, yeah, no, that's cool. You talked about you being a huge Spider-Man fan.
Yes.
So, a few things. First, Nick, are you a big Spider-Man fan?
No, not since the and see, here's where my age comes into it. Yeah. I mean, I grew up with the Spider-Man,
yeah, the original cartoon.
The original cartoon, which, by the way, many people don't know this, was actually done in Canada.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. I just found that out recently, and I thought that was pretty cool. 67 to 70, I think, is when the original was. So for me, I liked Spider-Man when I was younger. Did I get into it kind of later on? Not as much, but. Not to say that they're not all good movies, with the exception of the third one. With the dance sequence. But
I thought that was the highlight.
Yeah, you would. That's the sad thing. But no, I think it's going to be a well done movie. I'm looking forward to seeing it, but not with the same anticipation as some other people might.
Fair.
Yeah.
Anthony?
You?
So I've seen 2 trailers, which is kind of breaking my rule because I hate watching trailers. Give away the movie.
Yeah.
And for this movie, I know there's been a lot of crap given, people defending it, but it gave away a lot of the plots. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but basically you know what's going to happen, when's going to happen, beginning, middle, and end. So I kind of stopped. I controlled myself, which is kind of why I got over it. I didn't really care for it because I kind of feel like I watched the whole movie. But I'm looking forward because I liked him in Civil War, but I don't agree with people saying he's better than Tobey Maguire before they've even seen the movie with 10 minutes of footage.
Yeah, and I mean, the big thing too is because I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. If he is my number one, right? Mm-hmm. Even he's above, for me, he's above Batman, Superman, all that other stuff. Not even just movies, just in terms of characters. I just was always to be able to relate to him more. I mean, it's a high school kid with responsibilities over above anybody else. But yeah, for me, that 10 to 15 minute showcase he had in Civil War, in terms of just Tom Holland as Spider-Man and the way he was quipping and stuff like that, I'm like, yeah, that's Spider-Man. That's Peter Parker, young in high school, put in a situation where he's fanboying out just like the rest of us. Because what it was, for me, it was he's just super nervous. He's around these heroes that are larger than life, and he has to adapt to it. But I don't know if I would say, just like you said, with the Tobey Maguire ones, because that's my realm.
That's your generation.
That's my generation of Spider-Man. Yeah. But I also had the 90s cartoon.
Yeah.
Right? So I had the 90s cartoon where he was a little bit older, but in terms of just the way that Sam Raimi was able to bring Spider-Man to life in Spider-Man 1 and 2 was awesome. Again, Spider-Man 3, we can put that under, you can put it under studio interference or whatever. The Andrew Garfield ones, I kind of feel bad for Andrew Garfield because he was a pretty decent Spider-Man when he was actually Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. But like outside of his costume, he was just a teenager with issues.
But he wasn't even like a nerdy teenager.
No, like
No.
They only
he was
showed,
like an extra from Twilight series,
Exactly.
right? Like I mean,
And he had one scene where he was doing in the first one where he was actually being like a genius because Peter Parker is a genius. Mm-hmm. Like he is a smart kid, right? Smarter than most people, and they haven't been able to showcase that as much. They did a little bit in the first Amazing Spider-Man. And then in Spider-Man 2 a little bit more when he was talking to Dr. Octopus before he became Dr. Octopus. They were kind of talking about quantum mechanics and physics and all that stuff, right? But yeah, I'm super stoked. A lot of early reviews. They had the premiere on this past Wednesday, and a lot of publications are raving about this movie so far. And not only that, but I'm hearing hints that we actually have a really good MCU villain. So
First one in a while.
Yeah.
First one in a while. So we have Spider-Man. With Spider-Man has come with a little bit of drama with Venom as well. Now, for those of you who don't know, Spider-Man in the MCU is Marvel doesn't have the rights back to Spider-Man. Disney, Marvel Studios, they are being lent Spider-Man. All box office that's coming from Spider-Man Homecoming is going straight to Sony. So they were able to borrow the character in an unprecedented deal, a three-way deal between Disney, Marvel Studios, and Sony. But then Amy Pascal, who's in charge of Sony, and Kevin Feige, who is obviously the overlord of all things MCU, they had an interview early on in the week, and then Amy Pascal, who decided to just say, yeah, Venom's in the MCU, which caused the sad Feige face, which you have to check it out. Just type in sad Feige, and you'll just see this look on his face like, what did you just say? However, I think it was yesterday or today, they had another interview, and Amy Pascal kind of corrected herself, saying that the Venom movies, so Venom, Silver Sable and Black Cat, they're calling those the Marvel Universe, not to be mistaken with Marvel Cinematic Universe. She said now, kind of correcting herself, that it's not that they're in the MCU, but they live in the same reality. And what that means is, think about it like the Defenders and
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. would be the best one, because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. acknowledges the MCU, Thor, Tony Stark, all that stuff.
And they have that character crossover.
Exactly. Whereas the Defenders, they live in that same reality, but you'll never see Iron Man coming in to help a Luke Cage, or Spider-Man helping Daredevil, and so on and so forth. Do you guys think that makes more sense? Like, I don't know. I think that's a much better, and even Kevin Feige was like, hey, that's a good answer. Like, that was almost, I'm paraphrasing, but he was really happy about that. I don't know. I think that's pretty cool, just to have it kind of living in that reality.
In the future, I do want to see Venom and Spider-Man obviously cross over again to redeem Spider-Man 3.
Sure.
But I don't know, it'd be interesting seeing Venom as kind of the hero facing off Carnage, who still is uncast.
Yep.
I don't know, with this new universe, the MU is going to be... Isn't that the comic universe name, though?
I think so. Again,
I was thinking it would be like SMU or something.
Yeah.
The Sony, but
or even the Spideyverse.
Mm-hmm.
You know, something like, and that could be like a sub name that people call it. Oh, the Spideyverse with Venom and stuff like that, because Venom's our anti-hero, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then against, like you talked about, against Carnage.
But there's been a lot of, like, Sony's been making plays because they have a new Spider-Man. I think that's Disney, the Spider-Man animated show.
Yeah.
Then they have the
with Miles Morales.
Miles Morales one coming out next year, I think, in December. Now they have this whole universe they're trying to set up. I don't know. I feel like it's going to be a mess, and like average viewers who just go and see, oh, Spider-Man, there's Venom. They recognize the name from the third one. They're going to see, and they're not going to notice, like, well, where's Spider-Man? I feel like the average viewer will get confused by kind of the setup of it.
Right. Nick? As a person who's, speaking from a person that, like, again, not the biggest Spider-Man fan in the world, you know of Venom, right?
I've learned more about Spider-Man in this last 3 minutes than I've known for most of my life. To me, I'm fascinated by it, but I have, like, zero input on this. Like, this is something where I mean, I'm going to leave it to you boys as the experts on this and kind of and listen as I go. But you know, I would like to see, in terms of just the classic characters like Venom and Carnage. I would like to see that incorporated and see how they do it. And like you said, redeem what they tried to do in the third Spider-Man. But I think they'll do a better job of it just because of the fact that it was so, I don't want to say badly done before, but I think they want to say let's redeem it. Let's make this let's make these characters and give them the respect that they deserve, because like Venom and Carnage were two huge characters that didn't get that respect that I think they deserved, and like I hope they do a better job with it, and I think they will in this case just because of history where they have to redeem it.
Well, and Carnage has never been done in a movie before. They've been done and he was great in the 90s, like the Spider-Man
animated show.
The animated was incredible. For me, I've always wanted Jim Carrey to play Cletus Cassidy because I think he's got that manic that manicness to him. He can be crazy. because Cletus Cassidy is crazy. Like and Venom again is that anti-hero, but still, somewhat has a little bit of a moral compass. He's more of a thorn in Spider-Man's side, whereas Carnage is exactly what his name is.
Yeah,
Carnage.
Yeah,
and Venom and Carnage square off all the time. I don't know. For me, Jim Carrey would be really great. Obviously, I don't think it's going to happen because he's older. In terms of because we already know Tom Hardy's going to be Venom, which means that for a guy like Tom Hardy who's very picky with his scripts, this script must be good, or they must have something really good for him to be like, you know what,
I'll sign on.
I'm in.
Yeah.
But somebody has to be cast with him that can actually, they would have to not overact, but have to be at the same level as him and have that kind of that powerfulness in their acting to be able to go toe to toe with a Tom Hardy who's already a presence in himself.
On the other hand, I'm looking forward. This has been he kind of teased it on Twitter, saying the guy named Cameron Monaghan, who plays Jerome on Gotham, who's kind of teased as a younger Joker, but not really officially, a Joker. He teased, posting a photo of the Carnage from the '90s, saying, "Have this since I was a kid. I'd always be a dream of mine." I would be down for that. That'd be really good because he's a really good actor in Gotham, chaotic. Just has he looks like Cletus Cassidy too with the red hair, all that.
Do you know? Have you seen Gotham?
I've seen a couple of episodes, but no, I'm not as familiar with it.
See, I liked him in Shameless. If it's a very adult show, so if you're not old enough, do not watch Shameless. But he's in Shameless, and he's really good because he ends up developing some type of mental stuff that he has to go with. So he's playing a lot of different personalities. I just don't think he's got. I think he's too young to go against a Tom Hardy. Because at that point, he would first of all have to beef up. Like he's a tall actor, like he's tall, so he might be able to. But I don't think he has that. He doesn't have that force of nature look to him like Tom Hardy. You look at him and he's like a Jason Momoa.
He'd be the bane of his existence.
That's the worst. Oh God, you did. I knew
you went there.
You were gonna throw something in there, but no, honestly,
he's punny.
He's punny, but I don't know if he'd be able to go toe to toe with him. But at the same time, could Jim Carrey? Because Jim Carrey has been out of the spotlight for a little bit and stuff. Like I will love Jim Carrey to my dying days, right? Like he's just because I grew up again, '90s kid. So for me, Ace Ventura, all those movies were great, and then he did his dramatic stuff. So. I don't know. We'll see. I think it's really cool though that they finally corrected it and just said yes, they're in that reality, but they're not in the MCU because that's messing with a lot of continuity.
Yeah,
that's going to mess with a lot. Other news we've got Warner Bros. In DC, so we'll go over the Warner Bros. Side. There was a report that this week that they want to do 3 to 4 superhero movies per year. Nick, what do you think?
Again, it all boils down to that same argument that we had about Star Wars. There's no anticipation. There's no build up. You're just kind of you're pumping them out like it's pizzas at a restaurant, right? It's you're not giving the fans that time to watch a movie, react to it, wait for that next one to come out. I mean, great for moviegoers who want to see something cool and don't have to wait till I guess the summer blockbusters or whatever.
To get
but I mean, for me, it's I don't think you need to pump out that many movies that quickly. I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm sure a lot of people are going to disagree with me on that, and that's totally cool. But yeah,
Anthony,
I feel like it's kind of the Batman versus Superman thing. They kind of crammed it in too fast, and with this, it seems like they didn't really learn from their mistake, and they're trying to just cram it into different movies, but still in the same time span. With Wonder Woman, it's different because they did it right, and they actually made a good movie. Which I liked Batman vs Superman, but it did have its flaws. Yep. But I feel like they should take their time. If Justice League is good, kind of do 2 movies a year, then maybe do the occasional 3 like Marvel does, but just kind of don't do too crazy off the bat. Establish the universe first.
Build it up first. Do you guys think that maybe there's... I mean, because for the past... Honestly, Iron Man came out in 2008. The MCU was starting to kick off. And 3 years later, everyone's like, oh, I think I'm getting superhero fatigue. Do you guys think that might be setting in if we've got, let's say, a handful of Marvel movies coming out? The Fox is doing New Mutants. We've got the Spideyverse. We've got now a DC potential to do 3 or 4. Because for me, it's great if you want to do it. And I think Warner Bros. And DC have now course-corrected a little bit, especially with all the drama that was going on with that Ben Affleck. Wonder Woman being the hit that it was is a huge deal for DC and Warner Brothers. They have something that everybody likes for the most part, and it's something they can rally behind. From what I understand, Joss Whedon doing the reshoots, they're gonna focus heavy on Wonder Woman. They're gonna have to. Then you've got Patty Jenkins, who's possibly coming in to do Wonder Woman 2, who's most likely holding out for more money, because people do this whenever they make public announcements and say, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to come back. That just means if you pay me enough, I'm going to do it. Yeah. But she did an incredible job. Do you think that's going to start, like you mentioned, pump out a couple of movies and make sure that, again, because Justice League is going to be that big test. Then your next one, let's make sure Aquaman's good. Let's make sure the Batman is good. And then go from there, maybe, 5 years later, start thinking about 3 to 4 movies?
I think the success of Wonder Woman, why it partially did so well, was because nothing's been done with the character of Wonder Woman in terms of a movie. Like, how many Batman movies have we seen? How many Superman movies have we seen? Like, there's been, a bunch of those. Wonder Woman, I think, was one of those ones, similar to Captain America, right? There was no real Captain America movies that were out before the new ones came out, right, from Marvel. So I think
there was one way back when, but it was awful. Was there 2?
Yeah, there was 2. Yeah, one was totally forgettable.
Yeah,
and one was
nobody remembers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So for me, I think that the nice thing about Wonder Woman was that it was a chance that since Linda Carter played it in the 70s or whatever, like nobody's really done anything since. So the way that they kind of built this one up, I think they did it right in that it's never been done. Like, we have nothing really to compare it to, and I think that's why it got so much popularity. I think people were just curious to see, like, okay, how are they going to do this? Like, now that we have so much technology, right, the CGI, everything, like, how awesome can they make Wonder Woman? And I think they did. And I love the fact that they played similar to Captain America, where they played off, like, the World War II, like that kind of...
Yeah, using World War I as a backdrop.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think it was just really well done. It was a great movie as far as I'm concerned, and I'm not a Wonder Woman fan per se, but I love the way that they did it.
Yeah, so you think the success of this could at least get them in the right track from a studio that was trying to catch up with Marvel to now saying, okay, we finally have our hit, because like you said, you like Batman versus Superman. Nick?
I liked it. I thought there were some good parts to it. I thought there were some parts where you're like, really?
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think that fight scene at the end was pretty amazing. A lot of the other stuff was kind of like, how many times are you going to tell the Batman story?
True,
right?
And I mean,
like, I get it. He fell down a well, and there were some bats, and like that really upset him.
At least in this
iteration. And his parents got killed. I mean, we know that story, but I thought it was a pretty well done movie for the most part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm more so on the other side of it. Like, I wasn't a big fan of it, but I liked parts. I like the definitive edition a little bit more, like the Ultimate Edition that they released, because it was actually more of there was actually Superman in there. I guess there's been some reports after Civil War, was released, that Spider-Man had just as many lines or more. Yeah, was it more?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of crazy in a Batman v Superman movie, which they didn't need the Doomsday part. Batman v Superman alone, at least for me. But yeah, for me, it's that warehouse fight. First time I've ever seen Batman fight like that, which was, this is the ninja that we know.
Yeah.
And Wonder Woman, because I loved Wonder Woman in Batman v Superman. I thought she was a big highlight of the movie.
When that music hit,
and you're like, and her theme song is so good.
Yeah.
But
and she's easy on the eyes too, which helps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, big time, big
Yeah.
time. But and then you have Suicide Squad, which is also divisive. Like if you were to put one word, if you look at any other podcasts or any other pundits out there, they've been divisive. Most people may not like them, but there's also that facet of people that do like them. They finally have a hit. And I think with Aquaman, they're going to have a hit there. And honestly, I think that Justice League is going to be a hit, and I want it to be a hit. But we'll see what happens. I mean, three to four superhero movies a year, that's bold. That's a big one. Even the MCU isn't doing that. And they've already had a track record since 2008. So, speaking of Warner Brothers, it's kind of one of our last news things, which I think is pretty cool. Matt Reeves, who directed the War for the Planet of the Apes, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, he was talking to New Trailer Buzz about how the Batman will be a noir-driven detective version of the character, or a noir-driven detective movie. Personally, I think that's great, and the reason is because we have not seen Batman be a detective. And I think Matt Reeves, the way that he's done the Planet of the Apes movies is pretty incredible. So I'm super excited for that. I think that's a good way to take the character. If they can finally show him being a detective, that's sweet. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
That seems, pretty good. I'm excited for Transformers because I feel like Planet of the Apes have been doing pretty good, like action movie kind of mixing it together. Has a pretty big fan base. I still haven't seen it yet. I'm kind of just waiting for that third one to come out so I can kind of watch it.
As a trilogy?
Yeah, as a trilogy. But I've heard nothing but good things about the whole thing in total.
Nick?
Yeah, same. Yeah.
So you want to, it's more so just seeing Batman as a detective finally?
Yeah, I think it's just a totally different take on it, right? Like just kind of how we had the Dark Knight, and that was a total different way of seeing Batman. Like, you know what I mean? A darker, this is just another way of kind of reinventing Batman, and I'd like to see how it turns out. Personally, I'm always going to be, I mean, I say that now, but like I'm a fan of the Christopher Nolan series, like that. Those were really good Batman movies. But I would love to see how they could reinvent it, and I'd love to be surprised. Right now, like that's for me at least, is the benchmark. Like these are, but back in the day, I'm like, nobody's going to beat Michael Keaton as Batman, right? So I mean,
those movies
obviously things change.
Great
Michael
movies.
Keaton was a very underrated Batman. I thought he was really good. Even
on Entertain Facts, you had posted on the page that he got how many?
About 50,000 complaints for being casted as Batman.
Which is crazy.
Which was like the same deal with Ben Affleck. Obviously more because...
Actually, even more so than Heath Ledger.
Oh, exactly.
The backlash for Heath Ledger for
the
now that you
Joker.
mentioned Christopher Nolan, the backlash they got for casting him because he had just finished Brokeback Mountain. And that's all people... And that was a good movie. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, whatever you think in life, that's up to you, but that was a very well done movie, and I think people were just holding on to that too much. And I don't know. I
feel like fans need to shut up, wait till they see the movie,
Sure,
then they can just decide.
Yeah.
Because all DC, I've heard, Ben Affleck, I didn't really care. I'm like, you know what, give him a chance. People are claiming now that he's better than Christian Bale, he's better than all these Batmans. But
Which you never thought you would ever hear people say.
Better than Christian Bale?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, in terms of the Christopher Nolan movies, I thought they were just really good stories. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In terms of the Batman that I guess I've read, even when I played the Arkham games.
Yeah.
And because it's a video game. You've got hours and hours to establish a character with the detective stuff and everything like that. I thought he was always a good Batman, but I thought the story and the world that Christopher Nolan was able to create, this larger-than-life world in a grounded reality, was the biggest thing, right? Because, he didn't fight that well. It was more so blocking, but because that's why I really like Batfleck, because he fought like a ninja, right? He was kind of a detective, but he wasn't as much, but those movies were just incredible movies with these characters in them. So last little bit of news: Wonder Woman surpassing Batman v Superman, and now we're talking about the DC stuff for highest grossing DC movie. I'm not surprised. I mean,
me neither.
It's done so well. It's had lots of legs. It stayed on the top 5 for quite a few weeks, and it's been making and it hasn't even dropped that much in terms of a percentage, which most of the time you see about a 46 to 55% drop on most movies from week 1 to week 2, and Wonder Woman's been carrying really good, so it's been staying on that top 5. Yeah, so that's your movie news. That's your bigger movie news from the week. Anthony, what do we got next?
So next we're going to be talking about video games and kind of the news and discussion for there. The biggest piece of news that has been really controversial with video games this week has been the SNES. I think it's like a remaster kind of thing of it.
Mini system,
yeah.
Yeah.
So Nintendo announced the SNES this week, and they claimed it's coming out September 29th of this year, which has been getting a lot of backlash, seeing how their last mini console was sold out like immediately everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm still upset about that, for the record. That
got one.
That I never got one, and there's like nowhere you could find it. So I mean, unless you go on eBay and pay like $20,000 for it or whatever. But yeah.
And then there was also controversy with Amazon because they put it up for pre-order right away, and they didn't Nintendo didn't tell anyone how many they're getting. So Amazon kept on just like letting anyone pre-order, and they had to like give back their money in like $20 gift cards. So not a lot of people are excited about that, but there is exciting news of this. This is an $80 console, and it features 21 game titles. Here are some of them. There's F-Zero, Kirby Superstar, Mega Man X, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, another Street Fighter 2 reiteration.
Yeah.
Super Mario Kart / World, Super Metroid, and Star Fox 1, and here's the big hitter, Star Fox 2. So I know, like, this was 20 years in the, like, it hasn't been released for 20 years. They kind of canceled it after it was made for, I don't know why it was delayed. Oh, yeah, sorry, the N64 was being released a year later. They said, no one wants to, like, it's an older piece of technology, no one would be interested. So they kind of scrapped that after it was already done. They just had to ship it off. But yeah, a lot of fans have been excited for that. But now I feel like they're going to be even more, kind of mad at Nintendo, because now there's going to be a certain number of people allowed to play Star Fox 2, but you won't be able to.
Well, it wasn't that the same thing that happened with the Switch, though? Didn't the Switch have issues? Well, not issues per se, but limited amounts, and people were trying to clamor, and you could barely get your hands on one. I think it's different. I think it's better now, obviously, after it's been out for a while.
But the Switch, they were planning on continuing it as the next generation console, whereas for the mini Nintendo was, like, I thought they were going to, like, put that out for a while longer, but they just stopped making them. They're like, hey, we're done. And now obviously they're moving on to the SNES.
Nintendo has a characteristic to understock a lot of things.
Yeah.
I feel like they claim the SNES will be different, that they'll actually stock more of it, but I feel like they will not.
See, I would just try to buy as many as I can and then sell them on eBay after when
well,
it's all done.
And that's
like,
the
if people are going to do that.
For those of you who are looking for a business idea right now, here's what you do. Buy as many SNES games as you can, or systems as you can, and then once it sells out, which inevitably Nintendo will do, and Christmas comes and every kid wants an SNES, open up an eBay store. You're welcome. You could send all checks to us.
You'll have to be up pretty early, though, because even companies like EB Games and GameStop, they're not allowing any pre-orders. You got to show up at the gates.
Nothing, hey?
Nothing. Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, they were like that with NES, too. With the
they did know they had pre-orders, I think.
Oh, did they? Oh, okay.
So this is the one that they're not doing because of the limit. Now, when that other one came out, the NES, the mini, did they also have a cap, or did they just find that...
They had barely any, like 5 per store.
Wow.
Yeah. I remember, like, going into stores, like, there was... One store had 2 of them on hand, and like you would see lineups of people, and you're like, guys, we have 2. Like, okay, really? Like, I mean, and you knew this was going to be huge.
Royal Rumble.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy.
Okay, so the next topic we're going to talk about today is not really news, but we're going to talk about games that have gone downhill and games that have been getting better with age. So, G, do you have any games that have been... We'll start with down. We'll go with negative and end on a positive. What games do you think have been going down?
Negative ones. I mean... When life sets in as you get older, I can only pick and choose the games that I want to... Like, I don't play as many as I used to. I'm a huge fan of the Assassin's Creed franchise. I was also a huge fan, and actually it was because of you, Prince of Persia, because you were a big fan of Prince of Persia, Nick.
Yeah.
So, and Assassin's Creed was born out of Prince of Persia,
yeah.
which I would still love for Ubisoft to do a Prince of Persia. But you can tell that there's been a decline with Assassin's Creed franchise based on the fact that they started to release them every single year, which goes back to what you were talking about with when we were talking about DC. Pumping out 3 movies a year. They're diluting their product, and nothing was really changing, even though they have, like they always say, 5 or 6 studios working at different times, so on and so forth. But I'm a diehard fan. I will always play Assassin's Creed, and I mean... I seem to have been the only one, because I know Unity was that had the most controversy to it. My version, I didn't have a frame rate drop. I didn't have a freeze. I didn't have anything. I felt like I was the only person that didn't have any technical issues with my game, so I actually enjoyed it. But I think now it has gone a bit downhill in terms of where they've started with the story and where they're at. But they just released at E3 AC Origin, so that one may
that
be
one's
that
in
one.
Egypt, so they've been listening to some of the fans and be like, you know what,
And
let's
even,
go with it.
And even Ashraf Ismail, who's the creative director behind it, who was also the creative director behind Black Flag, which a lot of people were a fan of, he was talking about, like, you keep saying, we've listened to feedback. They release an alpha version they brought to E3 so they can get feedback from that. Case in point, when they were doing the dodges, people were saying it was a little bit jarring doing the dodge, so that was one of the first things that they did. So that one, I remember playing Call of Duty a while ago, like when it first came out. Then I just kind of lost interest. Unfortunately, the Call of Duty online community is a little bit too heinous for my liking. So that was one of them, and it seems to be one of those things where it comes out every year, and it's the same kind of deal. Another one that has gone downhill, but again, might get another resurgence, is the Spider-Man games.
I feel like that has a lot of hype going to it, and I
Tons.
think they're trying to start like an MCU version of the games based off this game.
Well, Telltale has been doing a Marvel
Yeah, Guardians of
series.
the Galaxy.
And Guardians of the Galaxy has been received very well and stuff. So, and this new Spider-Man game, not tied into the movie, which is great, because video games that get tied into the movies usually don't do very well. But yeah, that's definitely another one that I'm looking out for.
So you talked a bit about Call of Duty and how you kind of stopped playing near the peak. And that was kind of when I joined in, like Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops 1, Modern Warfare 3, which is one of my favorite games of all time just because of nostalgic just feelings and playing with all the 12-year-olds that had very insightful comments about my mother.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard that.
Yeah.
But it's been getting down.
You made one of those comments.
But that's been going down because they've been kind of... People were complaining at first, like how they don't change anything. It's always the same game year after year, which it was. And now they went to the future where it's like they're totally changed the game, they totally changed the concept, the storylines, all these characters. Then you have those same fans saying, well, why did you change it? Go back to the past. And they did this for about 3 years with Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3, and Infinite Warfare, which just released a gun, I think, this week, which it's a sniper shotgun variant. And you don't have to aim down sights, but if someone's in your like range and you fire, it aimbots directly to them. So they fixed that, I believe, today. But that was just... It's showing how bad they are. But with World War II, they're going back to kind of their roots because the first games were in that time period. But I'm just getting tired of World War II and World War I being the main centerpieces of games.
Right, because it's kind of doing this. It's just recycling the same thing.
Exactly.
Over. Almost like reboots.
Exactly. It's just another Spider-Man.
Yeah, fair
Great
enough.
cartoon in the 90s, by the way.
Reboot was awesome. For those of you who haven't had a chance, I don't know if it's on YouTube or anything, but find the TV show Reboot.
Yeah.
It was revolutionary at the time. Still holds up.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, kind of. But
Well
it's really good.
Yeah.
Another one of the games that have been going downhill fast have been the Sonic games, which I'm terrified, I'm sad, because I love Sonic. I've always been more of a Sonic guy than Mario. But when they had Sonic 06, where they had him have a girlfriend who was a human, they kissed, it was just too much for me. They redeemed themselves, though, with Sonic Generations. That was really good, because they kind of went back to their roots with the two Sonics, and that's kind of the direction they're going now. I believe they have 2 games coming out this year. One's called Sonic Forces, where you make your own character, which is, I don't really care, I just want to play Sonic.
Yeah.
And then one they're doing an 8-bit, like they're doing, or 16-bit, sorry, 16-bit Sonic,
The
new
original
levels,
Genesis.
new levels, all that crap.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm excited for that. Now going on the category of games that have been getting better with age and have been kind of steadily increasing. G, take us off of that.
Well, I mean, in terms of steadily increasing, I don't know if you could say they've started from a low point, because GTA has just been that one game, like, has been going forever. I mean, they keep releasing downloadable content all the time. For free, which is huge. GTA is not really on the up because it has never really gone down. People love those games. They create these worlds that you can just play in, especially GTA 5. I mean, you can go online and still catch tons of people all the time, causing anarchy everywhere, and it's awesome.
The Purge 24/7.
That's exactly what it is.
Uncharted is another big one that hasn't really ever gone down, but it's always been like an
They've always
underdog. Like the
improved.
first one, Second one was kind of a meh one, but the third and fourth.
But the second one won Game of the Year Among Thieves. Like that was a great game, and that's definitely one that again started from the bottom and then got to the top.
God of War is my personal favorite one in terms
yeah.
of, a video game. And again, it wasn't like the first one was bad, but like they just kept improving on that franchise, and I thought they did a great job. I remember playing it like on every single I had the PSP version. It was a great video game to play, and I think always they kept improving on it and made it a
and
better
the new
one.
one looks amazing too.
You know what
Yeah,
the new
I just had heard about it. You had told me about it. Yeah, but I don't know much about it, but I definitely am looking forward to it.
He's a Viking now.
Yeah,
I guess so.
Oh wow!
But I mean, and then the thing is with the God of War thing, they only had one misstep, and it wasn't really a misstep, just with Ascension, because they went before the very first one.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing is that, okay, he's doing these amazing things, and he's not as powerful as he was in the first one. But really, it was still, the mechanics were good, the story was good. You love Kratos, so you're invested in it. So
Speaking of games going kind of back before they started, the Arkham series for Batman kind of did that.
so good.
I played Arkham Origins. I didn't really see all the hate because it wasn't like that bad of a game. But I can understand why people disliked it more than the City, Asylum, and then Knight.
Yeah, and it was a different studio that did it too, so I think that was another thing. But the only gripe I'd say I'd have with Origins is more so what it didn't have as much as the other ones, but the story was really good. You're talking about a young, reckless Bruce Wayne. That's the story that they decided to go with Origins because it's the Origins, right? But I thought it was still good. I mean, and I'm also not overly picky. Again, this podcast is just fans. We just play the games if we like them. We just watch the TV shows if we like them. Great kind of thing. But now they want to do an Arkham style. Or Rocksteady wants to do a Superman game.
That'd be... hopefully it's going to N64 one.
Please tell me that was a joke.
Never played it.
And Superman 64 was one of the worst games ever. It's like top 10 list kind of deal.
So, do you guys have any other games that have gone up? Any other inputs?
No, but kind of as a throwback, do you guys ever remember Sega Genesis came out with a Michael Jackson game back in the day?
Yeah.
Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
That one, speaking of one of the worst games I've ever played, where his weapon was throwing his hat to kill zombies
Yeah.
and stuff like
Oh, God.
that.
Sounds like a pure thriller.
Oh, you're the worst.
Wow.
You're the worst.
You are the worst.
Oh, man.
You know what? Beat it.
Just
beat it.
Well, I mean, I had a chance to actually not get my hands on to buy a Switch, but I was playing a friend of mine's Switch, and he had Mario Kart.
Really fun.
And it's a lot of fun. I'm a Mario Kart 64 person, like a diehard Mario Kart 64 person, but that Switch version was awesome.
Legend of Zelda 2 on that, so good.
Yeah?
I feel like that's going to be Game of the Year.
Crazy. Yeah,
There's been
that
a lot
one
of,
was
like,
impressive.
A lot of time making that game too.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
moving on to a bit of news, not a lot happened in the video game world this week, seeing how E3 was, I believe, last week.
Yes.
But the Crash
Couple weeks
Bandicoot Insane Trilogy came out June 30th, so I believe that was today.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was rated 8.5 out of 10 on IGN. They claim it's basically like the same old Crash games that I used to play a bit of.
Yeah.
It's made by Naughty Dog, who did make Uncharted and Last of Us, so that's also a plus.
Which on the last Uncharted, they had that Crash
game.
Bandicoot part, which was awesome. He's sitting on the couch, with his wife, just sitting there playing Crash, and you're trying to beat her score, but she has like this crazy score. I couldn't beat it. I don't know if you guys.
There is a way to beat it.
Oh yeah,
I saw
there's
online,
definitely. Yeah.
but I suck at it. So, but yeah, it has better graphics. All three games for a decent price. I believe it was about $50. And yeah, it's been critically, like, people haven't had nothing bad to say about it. Same thing you've played back when it was released. Then Nick, you're gonna take us off with some WWE news this week.
WWE, yeah, like I grew up watching wrestling, so I know you guys kind of have a little bit of a background of it too. I grew up watching it back when Hulk Hogan first kind of came out, but so watching Monday Night Raw, SmackDown this week on Monday Night Raw, Great Balls of Fire, which for the record is the worst name of a pay-per-view.
It's a pretty ballsy title.
Yeah, I think it was just like, what were they thinking? Like right up there with In Your House from back in the 90s.
They've had a lot of copyright issues with that
With
title.
Great Balls of Fire.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, of course it would.
Mm-hmm.
Do they use a song?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the logo itself was like looked like testicles, but I just I think it was
PG era.
yeah, just like and the worst part is as a wrestler, how do you keep a straight face? Like, I'm gonna see you at Great Balls of Fire. Like, I mean, if you're Brock Lesnar, one of the baddest dudes on the planet, how do you not just lose your ever-loving mind. But anyways, the opening of Raw I thought was kind of cool. I mean, Roman Reigns came out and started it, which of course a chorus of boos because nobody likes Roman Reigns. And then he accepts Braun Strowman's ambulance match. So all of a sudden, as Roman Reigns is going through his, soliloquy there, an ambulance shows up and Braun Strowman comes up from behind, beats the ever-loving hell out of him and throws him in, much to the delight of all the fans. Because that guy could save a baby and they still will not make him just turn him heel already. I don't know what they're waiting for. I think another big highlight of that week was the Enzo and Cass highlight, the Enzo and Cass feud, how they actually... It reminded me of back in the 90s with the Rockers, Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty, when they broke up that tag team. And it looked like they were reconciling. They're like, okay, I love you, brother. You're like a brother to me. And then...
Something to add. I was watching that, and I'm like, I don't know if I trust this. Because it was going on for so long.
Yeah.
They went to the ramp, and I'm like, okay, end it now. Just get out of there, Enzo. But they didn't end it, and they got me. So you know what? Are they friends again? Then right after that, boom, big cast. And I was like, oh my... I remember I was posting on Instagram, my story. I was so happy. Then as soon as I posted it, I'm like, oh my god, not Enzo.
They even had me at one point because I'm like, okay, there's no way that they would
drag it on.
Yeah, well, I didn't think that they would after 1 week, okay, now they're friends again. Really, that'd be the stupidest thing. But for a while there, I'm like, okay, well, maybe they are. But I love the way they did it. I think with Enzo and Cass, when they first came out, it was a lot but I mean, how many times can you say the same opening and not get sick of it? I love how Corey Graves always kind of bashes Enzo, and I don't think Big Cass is great on the microphone. I think he's
pretty soft on it.
SAWFT soft. He is not a great mic guy, but he's got the look that McMahon wants, the tall guy, muscular, whatever. So I see him as the Diesel of the 90s kind of a character. I don't know. Your thoughts?
WWE, I actually saw this on, I think it was Twitter, but WWE had a poll somewhere, and it was saying who should Enzo, who'd like to see Enzo tag team with next. And I know Big Show was one of them. I believe Mark Henry, but I don't know the other two. But I know Big Show was winning 50% to the other four guys.
Yeah.
I'd be at SummerSlam. I'd be pretty interested in seeing that.
Big Show is he's gonna retire soon. He has to. The guy's been, although I have to give him credit, he lost 150 pounds. The guy is, he looks built. Just a really, really, kind of a character that's gone for way too long.
Speaking from someone who's, I like wrestling, but I'm not a huge fan. When I saw him, I almost didn't recognize him.
Yeah. It
was one of those situations where, you don't see a friend for a few years and they go through a big change and you're like, what happened to you?
Yeah.
Where'd you lose all this weight? So, yeah, when you mentioned that, I look into his picture, I'm like, yeah, that was a big transformation.
That was a huge change.
It was a big change.
Oh, man.
You gotta stop winking at me.
You're doing so good. Yeah.
You're doing so... Actually, no. That's his fourth one.
That's his fourth one. But I again, going back to Monday Night Raw again, Goldust and R-Truth. I mean, that was kind of the tag team was comedic. It wasn't anything special. The fact that they're bringing Goldust back to what he originally was, which is the bad guy, the heel, and that viciousness, I'm glad they're doing that. They're making him relevant again. I hope they give him a run for some kind of a title, either in Intercontinental or or
just
even world title.
Dean Ambrose and Miz feud that's been going on since SmackDown. They brought it over.
I'm over it. Yeah, it's we get it. You don't like each other. Let's move on.
The thing I hate about tag teams though is that it feels like every month one of them gets broken up.
Yeah,
they've got to start making up some new ones because honestly, American Alpha, they're still a thing, right?
Yeah, they're still.
But they're not ever with each other.
No,
they're just kind of the main three.
Well, now that you have the resurgence of the Hardy Boys, and that, and that's the thing, right? The Hardy Boys come back, and they were going to do the Matt Hardy, the Delete character, but now they don't have the rights to it, so they actually went through that lawsuit with Impact, which is now Global Force Wrestling. They just changed their name again from TNA, but so now I think the reason why they're breaking up these tag teams is because like they're okay now they have tag teams, so like they're like, we got to get some more single middle card wrestlers and storylines going. The other thing I gotta say, speaking of the Miz, that thing with the Ball family, what a waste of time. Like,
wait, what are you talking about? Ball family?
Like the
Great Ball.
Okay.
No, yeah, with Great Balls of Fire. Lorenzo Ball. I don't remember the dad's name.
Oh right, yeah.
That was just awkward to watch. It was like I know Shaquille O'Neal was originally supposed to be pitted against Big Show. They were supposed to fight at WrestleMania, and then there was talk that he was going to fight at SummerSlam. But apparently now Shaquille O'Neal is going to be fighting in Impact Wrestling at their Slammiversary. So I guess they're trying to replace Shaquille with this guy, which it was awful. Like the guy was just over the top. He was annoying. Like some people may have liked it. I don't think anybody really did. But it was just, and his kid who like
just shouted a racial slur 2 times.
Yeah, and the WWE had to go on defense and be like, that's not our views.
Obviously.
Like, yeah, obviously. It was just, I felt so bad for the Miz because the guy, like, he handled it really well, but at the same token,
during that promo where the guy was up in the Miz's face talking bad, then he started smiling and laughing.
Yeah,
just shouldn't have been there.
No, and that's the one thing I got to say about The Miz. Like, you know, people give him grief. I think The Miz is one of the best talkers on the mic right now in terms of a heel. Like, he's on there. He always stays in character. That one, thing that he had, that segment in SmackDown, Talking Smack with Daniel Bryan, where he just kind of, like, he laced into him about saying, like, you know, you've got this injury. If you really wanted to wrestle again, like, stop cowering. Like, go to the indies and do what you like. Like, he had such a great mic, like, you know, presence. And then you have him against this Ball guy, and it just, like, it was a waste of the Miz's talents.
But speaking a bit about, like, heels in the WWE right now, is there really a heel? Because heel is, like, booed by everyone. Like, currently the biggest heel in WWE is Roman Reigns, because no one likes the guy.
Yeah, and he's supposed to be the good guy.
The Miz, people, like, always cheer on. They always like Dean Ambrose. You got Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens, who were the biggest, like, quote-unquote bad guys, heels, but everyone loved them. Yeah. I just feel like there's not a lot of heels anymore.
I think that's just how it has been with, like, wrestling lately. Like, Stone Cold Steve Austin back in the day, he was supposed to be the bad guy, right? Nobody liked him. And then he turned into, like, the biggest baby face. Like, everybody... Braun Strowman, who's supposed to be the quote-unquote monster among men, and he comes out to the biggest pop every time he beats the hell out of Roman Reigns. Like, I mean, it's crazy how the fans... But that's the beauty of the WWE universe. Like, if they like a character, if they like somebody, whether they're the good guy, the bad guy, like, they'll let you know it.
Well, that's what I found, too. Again, for someone that doesn't watch or follow it as much... You know, even when we just talk, you know, this is being our first podcast, but we've talked about wrestling before. These stories are pretty cool.
Elaborate.
They're elaborate.
Yeah.
You could say it's theater.
Yeah.
Right? So for me, like...
And fake, in case you didn't know.
Yeah.
According
what?
To everyone.
According to everyone.
Whenever I post a fact, everyone has to tell me this. I'm like, what? I thought it was real.
But I mean, like, this is a dramatic performance that's put up. But again, the heel has... Oh, you've always said it. Everyone loves the heel. Why? Because they're probably the most well-written individual. Like, the hero is just whatever, but the heel is kind of someone that... Not that you side with, but it seems like they write them very well, where you at least understand where they're coming from.
Yeah.
And you can side with them. You like their personality. They're at that larger-than-life type, like a Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
Like, in the few times that I've seen it, I love watching him.
Yeah.
And he was a heel. He was supposed to be the bad guy or whatever, right?
Same thing with Chris Jericho.
Chris Jericho, the same thing.
Like,
yeah.
everybody, you just made the list. Like, I mean, the guy, he's got these, like, you know, the drink it in man, like, and he sells so many T-shirts, and he's one of those, like, hardcore wrestlers who believes, like, okay, no, I'm the bad guy. Like, I should not be selling merchandise like this. Like, and for a while there, he refused to put the list out and all that kind of stuff because he goes, no. Like, the whole point of me being the bad guy is that I'm not supposed to be popular. And that's where he's old school like that.
The same thing with Goldberg and Brock Lesnar, where he kind of went, Brock Lesnar went and he was talking smack on Goldberg. And then everyone started cheering Brock's name. And then WWE had to put him through the amps, like the Goldberg chant.
Yeah.
And they had to cut it early because everyone was cheering for Brock Lesnar to kick
In fairness, it was in Minnesota, which was, like, Brock Lesnar's, like, home state. So, I mean, and I didn't know this, but Brock Lesnar and Goldberg apparently are, like, really good friends in real life. And like, I mean, so the fact that they were, you know, working together again, I thought was pretty cool, right? But yeah, I don't know. For me, the whole phenomenon of the bad guy, the heel taking on the hero or anti-hero kind of a thing, like I find it fascinating. I find it really cool. Like,
So if you guys were to pick let's say the top two in terms of, or sorry, the top heel and hero that's going on right now for maybe somebody that, you know, again, like a person like myself who doesn't follow it as much but knows a few of the names, kind of knows a little bit what's going on, who's the top like up there in terms of the top hero?
John Cena.
John Cena.
And
Everyone
your
knows
top,
John Cena.
And your top hero?
but they still hate him.
Your
But top heel, I would say right now the best heel in terms of where people actually do hate him is I think the Miz.
The Miz, yeah.
Yeah.
And do those two
They
Yeah,
don't.
like,
They
don't-
used to at WrestleMania.
They used to,
They
they did
to?
at WrestleMania, which was a lame match for, you know.
But it was kind of just a setup for him to propose
Yeah, exactly.
to Nikki Bella.
To
John
Nikki
Cena.
Bella, yeah.
All I saw was a girl standing there in a floating ring. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Wow. I guess
You
couldn't see him.
Yeah, wow.
Just like in that, what do you call it? What is it? Stepdad 2? With Mark Wahlberg, Will Ferrell?
That's the second one coming out, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's called? Stepdad 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't see John Cena in the trailer.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just invisible.
That's one of my favorite memes ever. The John Cena, like, who's she looking at or something? That cracks me up every time. And it's one of the
I
lamest
saw
things.
one meme and it was like, I met John Cena at Target and it was like a photo of the girl and John Cena and the one guy commented, well, why didn't you take a photo with them?
So, you've got the WWE and other facets of it. What kind of, I guess, where do you see it going in terms of which teams are you to look out for? Which matchups are coming up in the next little bit that are really like, keep your eye on and see how this story unfolds?
For me, I gotta say, like, the women's division is where I really think, like, I'm disappointed with this last episode of Raw only because I thought Nia Jax, I think she deserves a title shot, and I was like, you know, they had her number one in that elimination, you know, the gauntlet match, and I thought, like, here's a chance to show her dominance and bring her up against Alexa Bliss and, you know, carry on that storyline, and then they get Sasha Banks to win, and I'm like, and I love Sasha Banks, I think she's a great performer, she was a good champion. Her and Charlotte Flair had some really good, like, Ricky Steamboat, Ric Flair type matches, but you know, let Nia Jax in there. Let somebody new in there. And I don't know why they made her lose and let Sasha Banks win. I
heard there was going to be a title shot, Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss at SummerSlam. So I feel like that's just a way to get Sasha out of the way.
Yeah.
And then kind of get the main thing for SummerSlam.
Yeah. No, that's true. SmackDown too was Tuesday night SmackDown was a pretty good episode. Daniel Bryan came out. He's back now from paternity leave. So he came out to some pretty good chants. He kicked out Ellsworth. Well, for a while anyways, kicked out Ellsworth.
Can't kill the beast.
He's just
shinless.
Yeah.
Man.
He, you know what, that guy, I don't know why they keep him in there, but...
The thing I disliked about SmackDown this week is how it's been the same matches for the past 3 weeks in the women's division. Money in the Bank, there's a Lana and Naomi kind of championship match. Then next week, they didn't do Money in the Bank in the second week. They did, because they talked about it, but then they had the rematch with Lana and Naomi, and then Lana got destroyed again. Mm-hmm. Now this week, there was a Money in the Bank match, which had the same winner, had Naomi come out on top, but in recent news, Lana posted on her Twitter at Lana WWE that her shoulder wasn't completely down, and that she demanded it wasn't fair, she wanted another rematch. And Daniel Bryan announced via his Twitter account that the rematch will happen this Tuesday. So if she doesn't win it this time, or if Rusev doesn't come out and do something, feels like they're just kind of leaving all this big filler in.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that they're giving Lana some screen time. To put her right into the championship matches, I think is a mistake. It's very similar to how they push Roman Reigns down people's throat. Luckily, Lana's incredibly hot, and like everybody loves Lana.
She's quite ravishing.
Yeah, she is the ravishing Russian. But you know, like I don't like what they're doing with her and Naomi, and I don't like what they're doing with Naomi at all either. Like
she hasn't done anything.
She hasn't done anything. Like as a champion, like she won it at WrestleMania in her hometown, which is awesome.
She broke the curse of the hometown.
Right, but like, and since then, like they haven't done anything with her. Her whole glow thing, I'm not a big fan of. Like, but
the show though,
The show, though, that's a different story. And
guys, as a segue, I just
Yeah.
finished watching it a couple days ago. Really good show.
Alison Brie, amazing, like always.
Yeah, from Community. Again, like I didn't recognize her when I first when the first episode hit, but I will say it's for people that
Don't understand wrestling.
don't understand. Yeah, that's the best way to put it. For someone that doesn't understand wrestling, I understood it to a point, but I got to say, after watching it, especially I think it was episode 5 or 6,
It finally glowed on you.
you're the worst.
wow.
It's
Ladies and gentlemen, your
John,
CEO
you're
of Entertain Facts.
No, but honestly, when you get to that episode 5 or 6 or something like that, where one of the characters in there doesn't buy into wrestling, they take her to a match, and all of a sudden she has her aha moment, understanding what it actually is, and it connected with her. That was a great scene, because how many people are actually going to go on Netflix and watch a show called Glow unless they know what it is, right? And they're going to see it, and it's like, okay, is this a wrestling show? Is it not? Do yourselves a favor. Watch it, because it's a really well done show.
It's only 30 minutes per episode, so not a big
No,
time.
it won't take too much time, but it really sheds light on the world of wrestling of back then. But the understanding of what wrestling is, which is why when I speak to you about wrestling, I don't talk about it as who's fighting who, which stories are they creating.
Yeah, and if you get a chance, speaking of on Netflix, there is a Glow documentary. That actually talks about Glow in the 80s and how it all started. Like, watch that before you actually watch the show as well. It's actually just a great way to kind of, if you don't know what Glow is, it kind of talks about it, like some of the characters that are still alive, Ivory, who was on WWE, was one of the original characters. Like, it's a great way to kind of familiarize yourself with it. But yeah.
So in terms of matches coming up, what are some dates to look out for?
Jinder Mahal and Randy Orton in the Punjabi prison match. I know it's like, it sounds ridiculous, and I'm sure it is, but I hope that Jinder Mahal wins this match and they actually keep him as champion a little bit longer.
Until SummerSlam, when John Cena comes in.
Which is what's going to end up happening, right? You're going to have the whole US versus,
But I heard rumors that Battleground or something, it's going to be John Cena versus Rusev, so that might be weird.
Yeah, Rusev is one of the most underrated wrestlers, I think. And he's one of those guys who plays a good heel as well. But people kind of like him too, which is weird. But Jinder Mahal's
a good heel though, because not a lot of people like him unless they're actually like, we're looking at him from okay, this guy's a new champion. He has something new to offer. He's just like the champion from India, which is the first time ever in WWE history.
Yeah.
And when is that? Do you know when roughly?
I think it's August.
Sometime in August.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
that's in July. It's in July.
So that's one of the bigger matches to look out for.
On SmackDown,
SmackDown?
I think so. I think that'll be one of the big ones to watch out for. In terms of Raw, I think the Roman Reigns Braun Strowman match, I think that'll be a good
Joe,
one.
Brock Lesnar match.
That'll be huge too.
I don't think Samoa will win it though. No way.
No, I don't think so either. Unfortunately,
I don't think Brock will retain it till WrestleMania 34. But I don't think he'll lose it at Great Balls of Fire.
It all depends on what they like. I don't know if Brock has anything going on right now, but it's unfortunate because he's got the title. He hasn't wrestled since WrestleMania. He hasn't
has that
defended
contract where if he goes on too many shows, he can't come back because of what he signed.
Yeah,
so they have to be careful.
It's kind of sad because the title isn't being defended, and it's not what it should be, right? But yeah.
And just one last thing for matches I'm looking forward to. I saw this article. And it was out of interviewing Becky Lynch on upcoming things that she's expecting, James Ellsworth's rivalry that she's wanted to happen for so long. But she mentioned that in the near future, she thinks there'll be a women's Royal Rumble full of women, and she claims 1 or 2 years away we'll probably see that. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it will happen eventually, but I think they're going to have to incorporate the NXT women into it. I don't think there's enough women in Raw and SmackDown to just do like that. I think they'd have to incorporate some of the characters in NXT as well. I would love to see a Royal Rumble that has Asuka and Nikki Cross in there with some of these other with Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair, who, as far as I'm concerned, is the best female wrestler right now. Every time she brings it, she brings on her A game. She's an amazing athlete, peak performance. She is legendary when it comes to the women's division.
So speaking of like the Royal Rumble, for male, it's you get a main event WrestleMania. For female, what do you think the prize would be?
I think it'll be the same thing. Main event at WrestleMania, and you get to pick whether it's a SmackDown or a Raw champion you go against.
So kind of like a free agent kind of match.
Totally. That's how I think they should do it, but...
She also claimed that she thinks that after the Royal Rumble, that there might be women tag team title. What are your thoughts on kind of that?
Waste of time. I think the women characters are so strong independently, individually, you don't need a tag team. They used to have a women's tag team championship back in the 80s, 90s, and it was like short-lived and it was not anything great. I think you just keep doing it. I'd rather see individual turnover in champions, and you see new characters develop and become champion after like a couple months reign, and you have like good storylines develop independently. But yeah, no tag team.
Did anything else really big happen in SmackDown or Raw this week?
I think that was basically it. I don't think there was anything too crazy. I think I really like the Samoa Joe Brock Lesnar kind of like, confrontation that they had. For the first time. They showed Brock Lesnar,
and Samoa Joe actually put the Samoan what do you call it?
The Cohina clutch.
Cohina clutch, yeah. And you actually saw him almost pass out, and like the other people that just kind of fall over and just go to sleep.
Yeah.
Which I really liked how he actually committed. People I told him would choke me out.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's basically it for wrestling. G.
That's it for wrestling. Well, we're closing in on the end of our very first show. Again, we want to remind you that your feedback is really important to us for the way the show goes forward. So please don't forget to we're having this on YouTube. Add your comments in there. But before we go, we do have some questions from some of our fans. We pulled these from the Instagram page, but to make it easier, again, if you're on YouTube, ask your questions there. Well, again, when Facebook comes up, ask your questions on our Facebook page. We'll be keeping you posted on that.
And also to add in, I will have kind of weekly questions for the podcast that we'll kind of discuss and talk about. Maybe for Spider-Man Homecoming one next week, so seeing that, maybe direct some questions about that, the future of the MCU, something along those lines.
As well as you can email us at the fwordpodcast@gmail.com. Okay, so put in your questions there. We pick some time towards the end of the show to answer some what you guys have. So yeah, send those in. Again, any feedback that you have would be great. So a few of the questions we have here, we've got a lot of them. So I think we've got time for about maybe 2 or 3 or so. But the big one I want to ask first is comic_stuffs. That's STUFFZ, asks what our opinion is on the Marvel versus DC rivalry.
Okay, guess I'll start that off. I feel like that's 112% fan-based. The companies, other than the Suicide Squad incident where he yelled F Marvel, nothing has really happened. They've collaborated, they've done the Amalgam comic series, and all these things. And honestly, it's pretty stupid, because at the end of the day, you could say Marvel sucks. You're still going to go see Doctor Strange. You're still going to go see Spider-Man Homecoming. If you say DC sucks, you'll still see Wonder Woman. You'll still see Justice League. I feel like it just, I don't know, just conversation piece, just like kind of showcase. What am I trying to say? I don't know, just trying to like start a fight. That's unnecessary.
Nick, for someone that's, you know these movies, you have an understanding of they're obviously two separate entities. Do you see from your side, in your opinion, do you see a Marvel versus DC rivalry? Do you think that's an actual rivalry? Is it more, as Anthony was putting it, a fan-made thing?
I have to agree with Anthony on that one. I think it is more of a fan-made thing. I think there's, rather than looking at it as a rivalry between DC and Marvel, I think it's more of a love of superheroes and characters that like everybody's kind of gravitate towards. I think there will be people who may prefer DC characters or Marvel characters over the other, but to say that there's a rivalry, no, I don't think so. I think it's just a matter of, I think people are just genuinely happy to have good movies to look forward to seeing again and like blockbusters to go to, and I think that's something that was missing for a really long time.
Oh yeah.
So I think the only rivalry is I think each one will be a new benchmark that the other one has to like step up their game, right? Like not necessarily beat like in terms of box office hits or whatever, but the quality, the storylines, I think it'll be good. Like anything competition brings out the best in both. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I'm going to echo what you guys said, because a lot of the pundits that I follow on on YouTube and other podcasts that I listen to, and I agree with them. the term that goes around is a rising tide raises all ships. Kevin Feige himself and Henry Cavill, our Superman that we have now, have both said they want these movies to succeed. Kevin Feige wants DC movies to succeed, and the reason is because we touched briefly on superhero fatigue. As long as these movies are good, as long as, like you said, they up their game, everybody is still going to go see them. It doesn't matter if you've got a string of Marvel or DC movies that aren't good. The general public just sees superhero movies. So if there's 3 or 4 of them that aren't very good, what's to say that everybody's going to go see them all the time, except for the hardcore fans? So yeah, I think it is a great question. It is something that goes on all the time, but I think, and you hear it a lot, it's more of a fan base thing, because these companies really want each other to do well. Obviously they want to beat them, but it's a friendly competition, right? They want them to do well so that they can do well, and so on and so forth.
It's like Raw and SmackDown. It's kind of the same company, same idea, but they're trying to beat each other in the ratings, beat each other to get the fans excited, because end of the day, if you watch Raw, you're most likely to watch SmackDown.
Yeah, in that case, it benefits wrestling in general. In this case, it benefits the movie industry in general.
It benefits the superhero genre, which you got to look at it. It's a genre, much like a Western, sci-fi. Now they're incorporating a lot of that stuff into it. You look at Logan; it's a Western style movie, right? Guardians of the Galaxy is a sci-fi. They're starting to take these other subgenres and adding them into them. One of the biggest ones was Captain America: Winter Soldier, a political thriller within a comic book movie.
One of the best movies in a very long
best
time.
MCU movie.
For me, and you know what? It's pretty close. Like it's on par with number 1 and number 2. I think the Avengers is almost passing it, only for the fact that it's the culmination of all the movies.
Right.
But Wonder Woman was incredible, and Wonder Woman, in terms of a superhero movie, is in my top 5 for sure. It was an incredible movie, right? The Nolan Batman movies, reimagining and
realistic style Batman.
Yeah. So as long as they do well, that's really what matters. Next question we have. This one's a fun one from Edwin Carrillo at 927. Do you think Hulk will beat the crap out of Thor in the new Thor movie? That is, of course, Thor Ragnarok. Gentlemen, what do you think?
I feel like, I don't know, because they might kind of just tease us on with this trailer, how they show they're about to hit, but it might be like, oh, wait, stop. Loki comes in, saves the day, but I feel like Thor, because in Avengers, he beat the crap out of both Loki and Thor, so I feel like if they don't let the Hulk, he's going to look like a big wuss. So I feel like I'm Team Hulk.
I'm going to go with Team Thor on this one. I just, I want to just see him, come out strong and just kick the hell out of him. But deciding vote here.
You know what? I don't know, because for those of you who don't know about the Thor Ragnarok movie, they are adding the Planet Hulk stuff. So he's been caged up for a while, and he's a champion of that arena. There's some backing. I love Thor to death, but I think Hulk is going to go all out. Because
monster among men.
Well, the thing is, though, is that...
Are you comparing Thor to Roman Reigns, I think?
Monster? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thor, however, he went into he's a friend from work, right? Yeah. Like in the trailer when he said that
line.
It's the best, right? So he's thinking, oh no, we're friends. This is going to be a fun fight. Hulk is going for it.
Yeah.
That's where I think he's probably going to, and it's going to finish off really good.
Yeah.
Last question we have. Okay, Ultimate Hero Fact asks us what our favorite MCU movie is, and also what do we think of the news of Tom Holland saying that young Peter Parker was at the Stark Expo in Iron Man 2. For those of you who don't remember, there was a scene in Iron Man 2 at the Expo when he was fighting the Hammer drones, and there was that young kid that was wearing the Iron Man mask, puts his hand up, Tony Stark flies in, blasts that guy, and he just looks at him, he's like, good shot, kid, and then he flies off. And everyone was kind of speculating for a bit. Tom Holland kind of confirmed it. But first, what's your favorite MCU movies?
Well, I already said Winter Soldier.
Yep.
So I feel like it's the most different out of them. They took the most leap out of it. And it was just, I think it was in the span of 3 days, and they introduced a lot of new characters. Black Widow was more of a main character instead of kind of that one that go pew 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 in the Avengers movies.
The spy.
Exactly.
Just being a spy, she's more integral to the story.
Winter Soldier was mine as well. I have to agree with you on that one. I thought that one was just a great movie, well written, well acted. Everything was really good. Great storyline. That one's my favorite. G?
Guys, I don't know. Like I said, it's Winter Soldier and Avengers is there, but then I think back to Civil War and the way that they constructed that. I'm probably going to go with Avengers just because, like I said, it is a culmination of an idea that was started in 2008. They put that post-credit scene not knowing where it was actually going to end up.
Yeah.
So
that one line where Iron Man and Captain America is going to find Bucky or whatever, and Iron Man was and he goes, "He's my friend," and Iron Man goes,
in Civil War,
yeah, and he's "I thought I was too. I thought that was a great line." But yeah, for me, I gotta
and that one had a lot of that was again a great movie. It's almost a three-way tie for me between Winter Soldier, Civil War, and I mean I love Guardians of the Galaxy. But I don't love it as much as other people. I thought it was really good.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Avengers, Civil War, and Winter Soldier. But I'd probably throw Winter Soldier above it. I think
Just
now that I keep thinking about it, I think just eking it out.
Yeah.
And in terms of Peter Parker being there, I think it's just a cool
That was
Easter
more
egg.
fan service, I think.
Yeah, I think it was
doesn't really affect anything. Like Stan Lee being the Watcher guy.
Yeah, exactly. There's theories of who Stanley's character is. I think it was just kind of cool. Yeah, he was there. Okay, great. Peter Parker without it.
Mm-hmm.
That'll do it. That's a wrap on our first episode of the F Word. We want to thank all of you for joining us and listening in. Again, we'd love to hear more from you on the show. Get your questions in simply by emailing us at the fwordpodcast@gmail.com. Look for our Facebook coming in the next week or so. Go ahead on Instagram and follow Entertain Facts. And again, on the podcast today, we had the CEO of Entertain Facts, Anthony.
Yep, that's me. My name's Anthony.
And the page again is just Entertain Facts, or
Entertain Facts, yes.
Entertain Facts. And also with us we had Nick.
Thank you again. Great time. Good conversation. I enjoyed it.
And I am simply G. We look forward to bringing you more podcasts going forward. Who knew?